I'm wondering if I could just sit down and be more,
Yeah,
yeah.
take your time, brother, that's fine.
I'm Sydney, and I guess I'll start a little backwards than normal. Probably should have moved the keyboard back some, but I am a full-time. Yeah, that's allowed me to see everything. I am a full-time student at the University of Southern Mississippi. I'm actually a senior there this year, and I just had a ring ceremony last night where I guess as a senior, and you like a class ring, yeah, a graduation ring, and all of this will make sense in a few minutes as I continue. I'm Honors College at the university, and what that entails is that if I complete a thesis during undergrad research, I will graduate with Latin distinction, either summa cum laude or magna cum laude. I have maintained a 4.0 GPA for 5 semesters straight.
Glory to God.
Yeah, just favor, just like what Anthony and Paul have been proclaiming up here. The blessing and the favor of the Lord is definitely on my life. And I guess, I'm not a preacher and a teacher. If I could say what I want to translate or for you to receive from what I'm going to share with you is mainly salvation is the message, and hope and believe. Just like he was saying again, it made me feel so good to hear some of the things he was saying, because the Holy Spirit inside of me enjoyed what I was hearing, and it kind of made me relax just a little bit more, because this is an abnormal setting for me. Even though the Bible talks about this being the original setting, and how warm and intimate and different this is than regular traditional church, this is the way I think it's supposed to be as family, and just at home, kind of really laid back and non-traditional. So anyway, I have been a crack addict for over 27 years. Wow. And yeah, sometimes it's even hard for me to believe. I often, see other people struggling with drugs or homelessness on the street, and some of the things that I say to my wife is, I don't understand. Why won't they just do this, or why won't they just do that? And she'll look at me like I'm crazy. And she's been with me for over 23 years, so, and she's a good girl. She never got a traffic ticket or drink or smoke or none of that stuff. And when I say that I was a crack addict and a drug addict, I'm talking about eating out of garbage dumpsters. I'm talking about walking the streets aimlessly, stinking, dirty, half clothed, talking to myself, just literally out of my mind. I'm that guy, and I share this is because these are personal experiences that I've had. I'm that guy that, if you were at a stoplight and I was walking across the street in front of your car, I could hear the doors lock. I was that guy, literally, I was that guy. And it could be broad daylight on Highway 49, I was just that crazy and out of my mind. women, I've seen them, you know, clench their purses tighter, move them to the other side, you know, look another way, stop and turn around and go different directions. So out of 27 years of crack, there's 10 different rehabs, drug and alcohol treatment centers, and they span from California to Louisiana to Alabama and Mississippi. And the sad thing is that there are more than 10. But if you ask me, I could literally put 10 names to 10 buildings that I've been in the United States as far as treatment is concerned. But there are more. I just can't remember some of the names or the places that they've been. I mean, I've even been up to, what was it, Minnesota I went to? Yeah. So with that, there's crack, 27 years of crack, there's 10 different rehabs. There's, the worst of the worst is a 20-year sentence to the penitentiary. Right here from Harrison County. And I sat there for over a decade, but totally I've done over 13 and a half years in prison. But I sat in Mississippi's prison for a decade plus. Not in and out, violating, going back. I'm talking about I went there with a 20-year sentence. I sat there day for day in a cage for over 10 years. And I didn't get high. I could have, but for some reason I was the guy that did well under strict supervision. You know, when you have stuff hanging over your head and you got people that are in your life constantly watching you, I'd like to pretend to do right and to be a good boy. So when I was in the penitentiary, I was able to manipulate the system and to do what was right. And it was fairly easy for me to do that. But when I came home, I went right back to doing the same things over again. And if any of y'all know anything about addiction, each time it gets worse. And it doesn't get better. You don't ever go and do less. You always do more and more and more. And, so I'll kind of sum it all up by kind of sharing a really bad story for my wife, which is my very last high. I was on parole, coming home from the penitentiary, and I was doing drugs again, and I told my parole officer, and I called him from my house, from our house, and I want to back up and say that for all the years that I did crack and run the street and all the crime, most of it, I stayed away from our home. As I said, it got worse towards the end, and what I mean by worse is that I let down boundaries and walls. And at first I was doing crack and running the streets and being homeless, but I would leave my home where she was, and I would take the drugs away and stay away from her for weeks, for months, for, I don't know, at a time. And I abandoned her, but I wouldn't bring drug dealers or crack addicts or crime to our house or to her house, and I tried to hide it from her for many years. But at the end, I did drugs in our house. And my last high, I told my parole officer that, that I was getting high. And he basically told me not to run, that I needed to come in and see him. And so I came up with this plan, like a drug addict, manipulating the system just one more time. I didn't want to get clean. I didn't think that I could. After 27 years of crack, I thought that I'd always be a crack addict. That's what I believed. I believed that I'd always be a deadbeat dad, and I'd always be a loser I believed those things because that was the life that I lived as a drug addict on the street. I came up with this idea that I would go to a treatment, because I didn't want to go to prison, and I knew that when I stepped into his office, I was going back to prison that moment. I knew that. So I came up with this idea of going to another treatment center, and I made it look fancy, wrote it on paper, and he could lock me up if I didn't complete the treatment and all that stuff, and I went, and I was high when I went, and he agreed to it. He agreed to it, which was very surprising. And he let me walk out of his office. And what I did, I went home. I had 24 or 48 hours in order to get to this place, to this last drug and alcohol treatment center. And I called a place, like a thrift store or something. And they came, and the drug dealer came, and I emptied out everything in our house. I just let them have it. And my wife came home, and I left. And she called me, and she was hysterical because I had sold everything in the house. Everything. Furniture, TVs, microwaves, plates, dishes, everything. And anyway, I came back because she just wanted her stuff back, and I told her where it was, and she called, and she bought her stuff back, all of it. And I'm steady getting high, and she doesn't want me to leave because she loves me, and she'd rather me stay there. And she wasn't enabling me, but I guess she was just sick, just like I was. She didn't know what to do, and she didn't want me to go to prison. And so she let me stay the night in another room. And the next day, she wanted me to stay outside because she didn't want me to do what I had did the day before. And I went around the house trying to unlock all the windows so I could get in the house because I didn't want to stay outside. And she went behind me and locked them all. And I broke in. And I broke the window the next day. You know what I did? I did the same thing over again. And because of God's favor, she's still here. It's got to be. Because if you talk to her, she's not developmental disability. She's not slow. It's got to be his favor. And I'm lucky. And I don't even believe in that word. But anyway, I did that again. And I went to treatment. And it was the last time that I got high. So I went to a treatment center called Teen Challenge, and it's a faith-based treatment center. It's actually the largest in the world. There's over 2,000 facilities internationally in 100 countries. It's a 14-month minimum inpatient, nothing but the Bible. Okay? So here you got a 27-year crack addict that doesn't care about anything, not even his own flesh and blood, and he's going to this place. After 10 other rehabs and 13 and a half years in the penitentiary, I think I'm like a piece of steel. That's what I think in my head. I don't think that God can heal me or fix me. Even if he would, I didn't think he could. After all of the things that I had done. Terrible. I'm talking about just, that's what I believed. I like that. Then it's really the key.
It's the key.
It's the key.
It
really is the key.
It will change your life.
And I went there, and I stayed there probably 7 months just manipulating them. Because I was a master manipulator. I lived on the street for over 27 years, hustling and breaking into people's houses and doing whatever I had to do to get high. That was my life. That was what I knew how to do, was survive. And I thought I was pretty good at it because I mean, I could talk my way out of stuff, and I was just pretty good at beating the system for some reason. Anyway, after 7 months of being there, I could tell you in detail what happened, but it was almost as if the Lord said, you either bow down or you bow out. And it just happened just like that. One incident. I'm reading the Bible every day because I'm forced to. I'm working in books that are biblically structured because I'm forced to. I'm praying all day because I'm forced to. I'm around other people that have the Word because I'm forced to. So it's doing something to me.
That's right.
All the time it's doing something to me. And then this one moment comes, and it's almost as if the Lord said, you need to bow down, or you need to quit playing with this program, and you need to get out. You make a choice. And at that moment, it wasn't something happy for me. I was angry. I was angry at the place. I was angry at the leadership there. I wanted to leave and go back to the penitentiary because this was a tough program. And it was challenging the drug addict that I was. It was almost forcing me to have to change who I was, or I had to leave. It was almost like God was saying, I'm not going to let you make fun and manipulate this place. You can go back to the penitentiary and play these games, or you can go back to the street, you can go back to the crack house, you can go anywhere you want, but not here on this ground. You're going to do what's supposed to be done, or you're going to get out. And I had to do that. And out of anger, not even knowing what was going on, I screamed in anger to the Lord. And I remember very clearly crying in total anguish. I said, if you're who they say you are, you need to show up and fix this because I'm done.
Glory to God.
And I meant that.
Yeah.
I was tired.
Yeah.
I was tired. I had looked up under every rock in this entire country to fix me. I read books, I said the prayers, I went to meetings, I did whatever they told me to do that would fix me. I wanted to fix me, and nothing worked. Nothing worked. I'm talking about, listen, 27 years of animalistic behavior. There was always something as small as a grain of sand inside of me that wanted to stop hurting other people. It wanted to stop seeing my wife cry and beg for me to stop, and my mother, and all of these things that I did. Yeah, that was a conscious. There was a small as a grain of sand, but there was a huge beast of an animal that took over and said, "No, forget about him. Just move him out of the way, and let's get what we need." But God changed me. And unbeknownst to me, little did I know what I was even doing by giving up. If I'd have known it was that simple, I'd have did it years ago. But when I said that I'm done, it was almost like God just walked in and
Amen.
And I'm not saying that something supernatural happened to me at that moment that I can recall. Okay? What I'm saying is that a couple days later, I was crying and I was wanting to pray for the men there. And I told you when I got there, I thought I was like a brick wall or a piece of steel. And that was who. And God had turned me into cotton candy. He turned me into someone else. And days went by, and I felt like maybe I was sick, or I started trying to put labels on what God had done, and try to figure it out, with my own comprehension, saying that maybe I was sick, or maybe I just felt bad, or maybe I was just having a bad day, and because I was wanting to apologize to people, and I was wanting to stop lying and gossiping, and all of the things that were normal to me. I didn't want to do anymore. And it just all of a sudden happened. And come to find out, you know, I got angry at God again because I knew that He had changed me. And my anger now, I wanted to know, how come, if it's that simple, I had to wait all this time? And I fasted for an answer. And it was the first time I'd ever fasted. And they did that all the time around there. But it was the very first time that I did that. And I did it in earnest, prayerful, spirit and truth. I wanted an answer from the Lord. Because I knew that He had changed. I knew that He had changed me. And when He answered me, it was simple. He says, if I'd have did it when you asked, He says, you would have been thinking you had something to do with it. Golly. And it was just that simple. And it's almost like I gave up trying to fix me, and He was waiting for that moment.
Yeah.
Amen. So,
He was waiting for me to just stop, to just give up, to just surrender, as y'all call it. I mean, it all comes together scripturally, and I'm telling you in layman's terms what really happened to me as I understand it. See, I'm not well versed with the Bible, and you know, I'm not a preacher and a teacher. I don't have scriptures memorized, and I'm very, very new to even today, and it's been almost 6 years now, less than a few months. But I don't know, it's just, you know, I can't explain, and I guess if I could, I'd probably be a millionaire if I could really explain how my heart can go from every day, every thought consumed with getting high, pornography, or something crazy that's just crime-ridden and it's ungodly. Every thought. Can you imagine all day, how are you going to get high? When are you going to get high? What you going to use to get high? That's it. No job. I've never worked a job for more than 2 years. Never. In my entire life. Never. I'm almost 50 years old. That's all I've ever done. It's just foolishness. My entire life. Okay? I was on parole in Louisiana, probation in California, and in the penitentiary in Mississippi, all at the same time. And the Lord changed my life. So we can fast forward to some of the things I told you about today. You know, I'm in honors college. It means something now for me to tell you that I'm an honors college student. I'm the president of my entire class, and they elected me in that position, knowing my testimony. I'm inducted into 4 different international honor societies. Like I said, I've maintained a 4.05 semester straight. I'm writing a thesis. Hey, listen, USM just flew me and paid everything. Flight, hotel, 5 days in Chicago to do research, or to present research at a 26th annual research conference. You're talking about a crack addict that spent 13 and a half years in the penitentiary, and here this whole university has put their stamp of approval on my stuff, on my work. I dropped out of high school, and then I tried to go back and got kicked out. Hey, I'm telling you all of this, not that you don't know the miraculous power of the Lord, but because that's who He is. And I know that I am just like something straight out of the Bible. I know that I believe that. I know that. I know that I'm saved. And here's the message again. I'll go back to the beginning and reiterate. If you hear anything I want you to hear this. I'm saved. And I know that I know that I know that I know that I'm saved. Listen, there's 1,000,001 ways you can know that. And I'm not challenging anybody in here. What I do know that also is that Scripture, Jesus talks about people in Matthew chapter 7, I think it is. I said I wasn't well versed, but he says, Lord, we call you Lord, Lord, and prophesied in your name. We did all this stuff. And he said, get out of my face, for I never knew you. So I know he's not talking to people in bars or in crack houses or in prison. He's talking to people in the church. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is that there are people that are in the church that think that they're saved.
That's right, Mom.
And they're not.
That's right.
Listen, if there's a message that I have that the Lord has put on my heart to talk about, is believe and salvation. Listen, 2 Corinthians 13 and 5, I think, it says to examine yourself and make sure that you're saved. Listen, there's ways that we can know this. And I'm telling you that I don't know anything. I've never had, never done, never been anybody all my life. But I know that I'm saved.
Amen.
And there's nothing more powerful on this planet than to know that. I know that I live forever right now. Not when I die and get to see him. I have eternity inside of me this moment.
Amen.
Amen.
This moment. And I know that. How can I explain the polarity of a heart that goes from here to there? I can't. But he makes all things new.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
Listen, I feel like I've never gotten high a day in my life. And when I tell you I was a dope fiend, I was a dope fiend. I don't know, you look amazed. You look like, what in the world?
It's sad, that's, it was sad what you went through, that's all.
Well, I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't. It's all worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, I don't have any regrets. I mean, of course I have regrets. I mean, but I'm happy. I'm at peace.
Yes.
And so many people that don't understand that don't have a clue what it really is. And I mean, we don't have anything. We don't have money, and we don't have anything. But what we have is righteousness and favor,
Amen.
and it's more than what the world can offer. And it's literally the most important thing on this planet to have. So, again, I go back to salvation and belief. It's funny how he began on that note, and I said a few moments ago how it was key, and I struggled yesterday more. I got beat down by the devil yesterday, and I've got a lot of childishness and immature pride and all kind of things. We were talking on our way up here, and there's wounds, there's toxic shame that still, that I live with. I want to believe that the Lord has totally wiped everything away, and if he did, that would make me almost perfect. But I mean, I still struggle with things. I still make mistakes, and but the blood allows me the freedom to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that relationship is there to say, hey, son, you should have did it this way. Or you might need to apologize for that and not do that again. And, I mean, there's a relationship today that kind of keeps me grounded and centered and traveling on the right road. And I'm okay with making mistakes. I don't get high or cheat on my wife, or I don't do, we were talking about big things, I guess, that I consider that just, I don't know, just sins that are unacceptable. I mean, there's, I think I struggle with eating. I really, the Holy Spirit's really, He's really convicting me about my eating habits. And I'm grateful for that relationship. I'm grateful that He's talking to me, because if He wasn't, guess what? There'd be trouble. I'd have trouble. I'd know that there was a problem with my relationship with Him and my salvation if He wasn't. So, belief, and I'll be quiet, but belief it's everything. Again, I go back to, my wife and I we can go to Paul or Anthony and say, you know what, we're having some marital problems, we need you to pray for us. And they can pray, and y'all can pray.